I get so many DMs from people saying, why aren't you an Air One? So I think it's time we tell them.
Welcome to Going Nowhere, the podcast about building a CPG business, raising 2 babies, and somehow surviving the madness in between.
Listen, everyone's dream is to be on retail. Would you agree?
Oh yeah. And I think when we first started this company, the thought of getting on shelves at Target, Costco, Whole Foods was an absolute dream. And I know that if someone approached me at that time, I would say a hell yes.
Listen, this is a really good deep dive into retail because there's so much to discuss in this category. I've made some notes because it's a whole...
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
And there is so much that you don't know and that we didn't know going into this. I think before we became entrepreneurs and got into the CPG world, going to the grocery store and seeing something on sale, I was like, oh, amazing. So nice of the grocery store to do that. Now I know exactly what happens behind the scenes.
It's also a dream in the sense that when you're walking down the aisles, you envision your product on there and you can see it and you're like, it's missing the shelf space. I used to do that every time I went to Mother's. I was like, how is this still not at Mother's? It would drive me crazy.
That story, I mean, how long did it take us to get to Mother's?
It took a long time. And
how many emails?
I took it. Shout out to David Grutman. I took it personally. Everything to me is personal anyway, but man, I took that personally. The celebration because it's so hard, you tend to want to celebrate these massive wins. We never did. You also know you better hold on to that excitement because once you actually figure out, oh, wait a minute, just getting on shelf means a whole lot more than I ever thought. Slotting fees, spend, trade, distribution,
refills, the marketing that goes behind, the launch,
demoing, social plugs,
chargebacks.
So we'll dive into all of that.
I truly hate it when people DM us and comment. And although I love people's enthusiasm about our brand, obviously love that part, but when people expect or think that when they ask us to be on shelf at, say, Sprouts, Arizona, or Whole Foods in Texas, they think that because them asking that we're just going to do it, that's not how it works. I wish that was how it works, but it's like, it's not just because you want it and just because we want it does not mean it's going to happen.
In the old days, it almost did. Before Whole Foods was purchased by Amazon, there were local foragers. They still have those positions in place, but they don't do the same things they did before.
I mean, you hear these stories,
You'll
right?
You'll hear these stories of a brand that's been around for 20 years, and they say, well, I was just out shopping, and this person asked me, I like your shirt. Do you have a product to bring in the store? Oh, yeah. And then $10 million later, no.
Doesn't happen like that anymore. There are category review periods that happen either once a year or once every 2 years. So you miss that, you're waiting 2 years to submit again. And even when you submit, there's no guarantee that there's even going to be shelf space for them to look at the category, which has happened to us many times, which is why we're not in a lot of stores so far.
2 things that I think, there are 2 ways to get in on retail as well. And I think a lot of people will look at a brand, say like Liquid Death, and say, why isn't every brand blowing up like this? And I'll tell you why. There's 2 ways to do it. You do it, one, by just sticking to the grind and, the term that we always hear, which is...
Slow and steady? What is it? I don't know.
Slow and steady for sure. But, people say like, look, I've done this from the ground. I've done it guerrilla. I've done it without
like
raising...
bootstrapped?
It's bootstrapped, right? So bootstrapped is one way. And having a massive raise multiple times is the other way. And so a company like Liquid Death can have the right broker, can have the right marketing budget, can have the right social presence, and
just money.
And money to be able to go from zero to hero real fast.
And also there's a lot of brands coming out now that have like that celebrity power, whether it's brands that have founders that have had an exit. So like the Smart Sweets girl doing the new chips, and Khloe Kardashian doing her protein popcorn.
Yeah.
The David guy who was the founder of RX Bar. So these guys already have like credibility behind them that they launch a new product and all of a sudden they're in Sprouts or Target nationwide and they're in 10,000 doors within 6 months.
Yeah. And they have the broker. And so when you're bootstrapped, you don't have the broker. So let's discuss the non-broker first, because this is the route that we went, and this is the route that truly is as simple as you just have to go knock on these doors. So how do you knock on these doors?
Well, let's talk about the broker part first, because at the beginning, we didn't honestly know that that was part of the process, right? We just thought, oh, well, we can just submit ourselves. That's super easy. Why not? But quite often, even though you can submit yourself, a lot of buyers won't even look at you because they want to go through a broker, because brokers know the etiquette. They know how to submit properly. They know what kind of stuff needs to be provided. And we were, I think, a little bit naive in that aspect.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
And it costs a lot of money as well.
Well, think about it as a buyer. You want things simple. You're dealing with thousands of brands. You have a lot of pressure on yourself as well. Some of these stores now, they've cut positions down. So whereas you would have, let's say, multiple buyers in a store, now you have maybe 2.
And those buyers are not responding to your email unless you are a really well-performing brand or a broker.
Yeah. So we didn't know about brokers. We went into it ourselves. And bigger stores required different maneuvers. Smaller stores, it's more about getting in every single day and hearing those rejections. But here's what you got to be ready for. One, you have to have extremely thick skin. And I would say I am medium skin to thick, because I do take it really personal. And when I continue to hear no's, it's one of those things where I'm like, I know it's not me, it's you. And I know I'm bringing you something really incredible here. You're really not taking a harder look. Jumping ahead to what I hate segment that we always finish with. I hate when people are saying no before you even finish a sentence.
And also saying no without giving you a reason why. It's like, okay, no, but what can I do better? Or what do you need for it to be a yes? And I can tell the story about the specific retailer that was our first experience into getting onto shelves, or at least trying to get onto shelves.
Preach, girl.
I think it was still 2020. And I get a message through our website from a girl at Erewhon. And she said something along the lines of, I love the look of your product, would love to bring it onto the shelves. Can you send us samples? And I got that email and I was like, oh my gosh, we have made it. This is it. Like, what a dream. And so at the time we had no wholesale presence. We had no wholesale packaging. I didn't know what a barcode was, a UPC code was. I didn't know what a sell sheet was. I had to message our friends and be like, what do I do? We had somewhat of a mentor at that point, and he was telling us how to put a sell sheet together. I was like, how do I even price this? Like, what wholesale price do we use? Made something up, put together a sell sheet, hand delivered these samples. And I was expecting to go into a boardroom and do some big presentation and present our beautiful cookies. I get to the reception. It was downtown LA. Walk through the doors, and they didn't know I was coming, even though I'm pretty sure I had an appointment. They were confused by the fact that I was there in person, and they pulled down the girl that had emailed me, and she was like, oh, great, we'll go try them and we'll let you know. Thanks. I was like, oh, okay, bye. And then I get back in my car, get into an accident. I got sidelined by a semi truck that then did they drove off. That ended up being a whole thing. And then we got crickets. Nothing. I sent her an email after a few days just to see how she, enjoyed the samples. No response. Sent another email. No response. Then sent I think 3 weeks had gone by. She finally responded and said, yeah, we're going to pass. And I was like, what? You reached out to me? This isn't how this works. I thought this was a shoo-in. And I was so confused. And because I knew that the product was meant for those shelves, we knew that. And so I asked her, well, what is it that we could have done better? Why is it a no? Is there something about the product, the ingredients, the packaging? Tell me. And nothing. And so it was a long drawn out process that, we just ultimately never ended up on shelf there.
Well, then I started going to stores. I started asking other guys, this is what happened. This is what's going on. What's your take on this? And they looked at kind of the information, blah, blah, blah. and basically came to the conclusion that we sent it to the wrong person. So that gave us a second wind. We said, we did it all wrong. Maybe this girl just wanted some free cookies and went on her way. So then we do this process all over again and get the same exact response, just from a different person.
Mm-hmm.
And the story goes that it was in fact personal. It wasn't about business. That retailer is probably, what word do I want to use to describe them? The word we'll use is rude. Nevertheless, we're not on those shelves, but we've got them surrounded everywhere else. And that's the gist of the first part. So as you're breaking through, just know that you will have to deal with these kinds of stories and far greater and far different stories than this. And you'll deal with constant ghosted emails.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the time you just really have to win over the buyer, right? If the buyer believes in you, your brand, your product, and they can go to bat for you, sometimes that's all you need. And sometimes if you get a buyer that's just not vibing with you, that might just be it.
Mm-hmm.
They're the gatekeepers.
Yeah. And I've heard countless stories where people have just wrote out the buyers, because in this business, there is a big shift.
Mm-hmm.
And if you stay on it, you can likely get in if you really believe that you're meant to be in that store, because the buyer will move on, go into a different position, maybe goes into a different company, and you'll be able to, fight another day.
Something that fits all of your needs, it's nowhere. Clean treat that isn't dry, it's nowhere. Something made with real ingredients that actually taste like something, it's nowhere. A dessert that combines real food ingredients with decadent nostalgia, it's nowhere.
Now comes the fun part. You are in.
Woohoo!
You get the
Made
email, you get the call. You're slotted in for X amount of stores. And as you go into high five, you realize, wait a minute. What's the actual cost to get into these stores?
The cost and the time and the onboarding. If we want to talk about distribution,
Yeah.
the
everything.
headache of distribution. So a lot of these stores, anyone that is considered a larger grocer, they use distributors like KeHE or Unify. Usually those are the main ones. There are smaller ones that we do use, but those are the two big ones.
And normal people would see these trucks, never pay attention to them, but you will now once you see the headlines on the trucks.
Mm-hmm. So just like the buyers don't want to do business unless you're going through a broker, the grocery store itself doesn't want to do business unless you're onboarded with a distributor. And it's almost like a chicken and an egg situation, because the grocers need you to be part of a specific distribution center, or what we call activated. But you need to have an anchor account in order to activate this DC. So how do you get activated without a retailer accepting you? So someone has to go to bat for you to take the time and to let you set up all your SKUs and do all the paperwork that is involved with Unify and KeHE. For context, we just onboarded with Unify. We started the process in October of last year. It is now August. That's how long it's taken. The distributors, KeHE and Unify, they have distribution centers all over the country. So you can be with KeHE, but only activated in one area of the country, because that area, that distribution center, services the account that has anchored you. And so once you've activated that distribution center, you can then go to the smaller accounts that don't have the anchor ability, but still pull from that DC and sell to them. So it is a bit of a dance to get activated throughout the country. And so that's why, for us at least, it's taken us a longer time, because it all involves money as well.
Big money. Mm-hmm. With you getting in the retailer, you get a PO. And I think that's when you start looking at it as, okay, I've just made this amount. That's the absolute worst way to look at it, because the PO is not a check at all. It's really a bill. And here's why. You need to now, let's hypothetically say you get into 100 stores. You get a PO for these 100 stores. Here's what you're doing now. You have to, one, manufacture this inventory. So if you didn't have this product, for us, think about, for 100 stores, we have to hand make this product. You have to buy the ingredients. You have to buy the packaging. You have to buy the pack cases. You have to ship to distribution, right? You have to potentially give the free fills. You have to then pay the distributor fees.
Well, let's talk about the free fills.
Yeah.
Let's talk about all those. So, what is a free fill?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. A free fill is essentially your way to say, I believe in this as much as you believe in it. I will give you one box to sell on me to get this account motivated, get people aware of my product in your store.
But it's not coming from us.
Nope.
This is a requirement that all grocers, I would say probably 80% of grocers, require a free fill.
Yeah.
Which is basically saying, as soon as I sell this product, you're going to give me a free box for every SKU that's on the shelf per store.
Yep.
So if you go into 1,000 stores,
100 stores, let's say, because that's what.
okay, if you go into 100 stores, you got 3 SKUs, and 100 stores, that's 300 case packs for free. So that's going, you don't like give them a free case. That money for the free case just gets taken off of
The PO that
the
they
PO.
generated.
Yes.
So it goes back to, it's not a paycheck, it's a bill. Then you have to give the retailer margin. Give a very brief margin percentage, most retailers.
Most retailers require about a 40% margin, and then distributors are anything between 8 is the lowest, and then 25 around is the highest.
Fund promotions. Pay broker if you haven't. Pay for demos if you can't do it yourself, which at 100 stores, there's no way you can do it yourself. You pay the freight. So say you're producing in one area, your distributor somewhere else, you have to pay for that freight, or you pay for them to come and pick it up. It's a different price. And then after all that, you still have to carry the working capital to even get this all done, because they have rates, they have terms that you have to essentially abide by.
So there is another one in there. It is slotting fees. So not only do you need to provide a free fill, but you can generally negotiate your way around this. But for most people, they require a slotting fee. It's usually like in the thousands
Oh yeah.
per SKU per store. Again, just to get you on the shelf. It's almost like you're paying for us to do the work, to set you up, to, get the employees to put the tags out, get the employees to put your product out, things like that.
This is one of those classic cases where you can actually be growing simultaneously while bankrupting your company at the same time.
And that's what can very easily happen. And that's why we haven't gone, all guns a-blazing, 5,000 stores in 12 months, because we financially could not support that.
So let's dive in a little bit about the money, because this is I feel like one of these topics that no one really talks about. And going back to slotting fees, because you are literally paying for the privilege for them to put out your product. And I'll kind of create a little world around what most people will understand. Say you want to sell a sweater to Nordstrom, and you call Nordstrom and you're like, hey, got this great sweater. And they say, whoa, we love this sweater. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to give us a couple sweaters for free. You're going to give us $1,000 to put this sweater out. Now, I need you to come and tag these sweaters. And I need you in about 3 months to come and discount these sweaters. And if the sweaters are in the back, I need you to come fold and place these sweaters out here. And by the way, if the sweaters aren't selling, I need you to come pick up these sweaters and take them the hell out of here. That's what being in retail is like. It's all on you. Mm-hmm. You get in, that's a buyer's decision. After that, it's all about you to push this product out, because it's not about getting in. It's about getting out, staying in to get out, staying in to produce and sell. We talked about how much the slotting fees are typically around, right? Mm-hmm. These are common things that people don't know. Distributor chargebacks.
Yes.
Warehouse fees. Spoilage returns, depending on, the kind of agreement that you've set up. Promotions that you think are your choices, but they're either automatically placed or you have to agree to even more terms as the years go by.
Let's talk about that, because we weren't doing it the way that people like us to do it for a very long time. And I don't know if it really worked in our favor. Okay, it worked in our favor financially for us, but it didn't work in our favor velocity-wise for the grocery stores. and from the buyer's perspective. And there is this dance with retail and the buyers and the brands where you have to play ball. If you don't play ball, they're just like, okay, next. That's really how I see it.
There's 1,000 people knocking on their doors.
Saying, I will spend money. And so along with all of the other requirements, these retailers require you to do marketing. And there are minimum spends. You have to do, say, 1 a quarter in their magazine, or 1 a quarter TPRs, which are like it's temporary price reduction. So you do like a 15% off or a 20% off or $1 off, whatever it is. You get that bill back, not the retailer. You get that bill back. And if it's buy one, get one free, you get that back not only you don't get it back at the price that you were paid for it, you get that back at the price that the retailer is paying for it. So you're paying them money essentially for the marketing.
People gripe at us when we do demos and they're like, where are the coupons? It's like, dude, I can't afford to give you a coupon. I'm paying this gal $400 to do my demo. And I'm paying for the product and I'm paying for blah, blah, blah. And like, there's no way I can take off a dime from this thing. You're stretched so thin.
So for the longest time, we didn't do any promos. And I don't think I really agreed with your mentality, but you were really like gung-ho about this. You were like, I'm not pulling down my pants for these people, because if someone sees us on sale, they will expect us to be on sale all the time. And I know you have a story about this with Olipop, because you only like to buy Olipop on sale.
Yeah.
You will spend money in all other ways, but if Olipop is not on sale, you will not buy it.
That's right.
But you do love it.
I love it.
Yes. So it wasn't really until we got a broker and they gave their 2 cents on how and why we should, give these promotions. It's ultimately not helping the brand on shelf. At least it wasn't coming from me. So I think you finally did listen.
It's a give and go. The reality is also that we can't produce these products fast enough. So this is still a handmade product. Yeah. It's tough to just say, all right, let's take our pants off, let's sell a bunch, but then we won't be able to be back in store for months on end, because then we have to go back and produce all these amounts. So there's a little bit of a give and go there. But going back to the amount of money that it takes just to justify a retail push just per one store, now magnify that by all the stores you want to be in, is a real hard conversation that everyone should have and needs to have. And having that FOMO around, well, my competitors are now at 300 Costco's, or geez, this shittier cookie is in nationwide Target, why am I not? Give yourself a break, because you don't know what that's all about. You don't know if they have funding to support that. You don't know if they're stretched really thin, and you don't know if they're going to be there in a year anyway. And we sure don't either. It's not like we have a stronghold at everywhere we are. And someone can come in and take our slot. So
we have to hustle for the Sprouts.
We have to hustle.
For the Sprouts placement, we are still hustling. 2 years in, we're still getting problems with, product not being on the shelf. The employees are saying that they're ordering it, but they're not receiving it. We're going into store and talking to the buyers, and they're like, oh no, like it's not on my schematic.
Yeah.
So it does take a lot of manpower, and we are only a small and mighty team.
So let's discuss. So you go into Sprouts, you see us for $6.99, and you think to yourself, wow, I'm paying $7 for a cookie. Okay. Nowhere's not making $7 on a cookie. Let me tell you that. Let me break it down for you. The reality is retailers take that margin, and we talked about that, 35 to 40%. Distributors take theirs. We talked about that, 8 to about 15%.
Yeah. Roughly 15.
The COGS come out, okay? So what are the cost of goods? Well, bags,
ingredients, labor,
okay? Freight comes out. If you have a brokerage fees comes out. If you're pumping it up on marketing, ads, whatever that is, that marketing comes out. Spoiler alert, spoilage comes out. And then suddenly it doesn't look so economically sane, does it? No. So that's $7 that you see and that you think a brand like Nowhere is killing it. Buddy, you are mistaken. You will hate this. You will hate it's gluten-free. You will hate it has no dairy. You will hate it has real food ingredients. You will hate it has no refined sugar. You'll hate every other kind of ads. You will hate the price. You will hate what we stand for. You will hate how it's better than anything else on shelf. You'll hate we haven't compromised. You will hate how good it tastes. You hate it has no seed oils. You hate it. You will hate Nowhere Bakery. Okay, good news. You have made the product. You've sent it to the distributor. The retailer has it. You've done your job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, employees don't know where it goes. Product gets put in the wrong department. It's refrigerated, but someone puts it out on the shelf stable aisles. It never gets stocked. The shelf tags exist, but the product doesn't. Product exists, but the shelf tags don't. Product gets placed behind another SKU. Wrong flavor goes into the wrong slot. Cases sit unopened. Product is out of stock on the market side, but actually the inventory is there, and it's even in the building. Have you heard of any of these?
Oh, yes. It's happened many times. We have a few stories. Number one, it always happens on a weekend, I feel. We get a text from your friend. She sends us a photo, and it's Noah Bakery case pack on the shelf, ambient, room temp, at, I don't know if we want to name names, but at a grocery store. Mm-hmm. And so we're like, she's like, oh, did you guys go shelf stable? We're like, nope. Have to call up the grocery store, figure out what's going on. No one knows what's going on, obviously. And we have no idea how long this has been happening. And ultimately had them, move it to refrigeration. But it was, we don't know the damage that was done.
Our very first order to Sprouts, a pallet was picked up in a non-refrigerated truck that we didn't catch, was stored in a non-refrigerated area in distribution that we didn't know about. And by the time it hit shelf, the cookies were purple. And the very first people who bought our cookies at Sprouts bought purple cookies.
What's funny, though, is when we made such a big deal about this launch, right? We did videos, stories. We were so excited. We were getting comments of people saying, oh, I got you guys at Sprouts, like, so good. And then we got someone that's, oh, no, actually, it was us. No one said anything. We thought, okay, again, it was like a long weekend. I think it was Labor Day weekend on a Saturday night.
And this, by the way, wasn't a Sprouts problem. It was a distributor problem.
It was a distributor problem. Because Sprouts had it in the right area. We go to the Sprouts. We're like, let's celebrate. We don't celebrate enough. Let's celebrate. Let's buy a cookie. So we bought some cookies, get home, open the bag, and the cookies are purple. They're like dust. And I was like, oh, what is this? My gut, like my heart, like just sank to my gut. And I'm like, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I was like, oh my gosh, like the entire order is like fucked up.
Yeah.
And like at that point, it's like, okay, it's long weekend. Like we can't even do anything about it.
So then, you think like, oh, then why is the buyer reaching out to me and saying your product is not selling? Because we've done everything right. But these are the type of things that can happen at every step of the way, right? So a spreadsheet can tell a buyer, why a product isn't selling, but a spreadsheet doesn't say it's lost in the back, it was fucked up in distribution, it was marked wrong, it was put in the wrong section, it was flipped, it was behind another product, all these things.
Mm-hmm. I had messaged a few of our founder friends about this issue, and they said, oh, this is like a rite of passage. It always happens. Something will happen. Either like a pallet will get lost or get put in the wrong like area, and it's just something that you have to deal with. But even fixing that problem was an absolute nightmare because nobody took accountability at first. And there was no real point of contact. Everyone was like, oh, looping in so-and-so. Oh, looping in this person. Oh, let me escalate this to this person. Oh, it was set up as ambient. I'm like, okay, well, it was not because we definitely did not do that. And on the boxes and on the bags, it says keep refrigerated. ultimately they ended up giving us a credit, and we had to make a whole new pallet all over again by hand and redeliver to Sprouts and almost do like a relaunch.
Yeah.
Because they had to pull everything off the shelves. And so everything was like empty. And then we had to really relaunch. So that was also a little bit of a stop and start for us.
So hopefully your cookies are in Sprouts and you're demoing and they're not purple. And let's kind of go into what goes into that. So you have to figure out, one, how to book the demo. And you can either do that through corporate, or you can do that hopefully on an individual store level, which is much easier. Then you have to staff it. You have to pay someone. You have to get that person to show up if it's not you. You have to bring the product, tables and materials. You have to talk to hopefully hundreds of people. That's the exciting part. You have to educate store employees. I think that's really, really important on my demos. These are the guys who are stocking me. These are the guys who are around the product. I want to educate them. They're to me just as important as the customer, because they're the ones who are going to talk to the customer when you're not there, right? You have to check inventory. You have to check placement. You have to make sure it's still the right expiration date. Hopefully you don't have old products sitting out. You have to check the shelf tags, check pricing. Hopefully it's exactly how it rings up as the schematic says.
But with the sampling, you're really only as good as the person sampling, because they could be someone that just does not care and be like, hey, you want a cookie? And they don't say anything about the brand, anything about the product. And then the customer just sees $6.99 and they're like, I ain't paying that. Whereas you go into a sample, you sell how much? What was your record of selling?
I mean, I don't sell anything less than 4 case packs.
Which is 24 cookies.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would go do the sampling. When my mom was staying with us at the time, she would go with you and she would walk around the store and say, like, this is my daughter's company. Look at the photo in the back. Like, this is his story. Do you want to buy? And it worked, but it's not scalable. So in short of you going to every store and spending your entire days sampling, we ended up getting other people to do it for us. But we are slowly seeing that same magic and that same velocity that we would get from you doing it versus someone that doesn't really know our brand personally or doesn't have much skin in the game. They don't really care. They're getting paid anyway. They're not making as much sell-through as what you were.
Really tough to get people to invest that kind of equity in a brand. When I see people on their phones demoing, man, I'm so checked out. I'm like, how could you do that? You're there for 3-4 hours. Like, just knock it out. It's really a shame. It's really tough, but demoing is your opportunity to tell that story, to touch people, to, hopefully find that person who says, I've been wanting to try this, but I'm, hesitate to spend $8. Well, here you go. It's a free one, and let me tell you the story, and let me tell you why. Right? Build the value in that, because it's a price versus cost. So yeah, the price is $6.99. The cost of what's gone into that is so great. How it affects your health is so great, and how it really relates to everything else is so different. And that's the kind of relationship you need to build with that person, to teach them about the nuances of the product you're demoing. Otherwise, they're just going to see $6.99.
And obviously, you selling to them, they're less like, I'll buy 5. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's like if someone comes in and says, dude, I want a BMW for the price of a Jetta, you say, are you insane? It's not the same car. So you have to build that same value and education around the product, because it's not the same product as some crap that you see that's far less. There's a reason it's far less. And those ingredients are likely subsidized because it's crap. But I digress.
You will hate this. You hate it has protein. Sorry. You will hate that the ingredients are hard to complain about. You hate a brownie this clean tastes so good. You hate you can't put it down. You hate you told your friends about it. You'll hate why we made it. You'll hate it doesn't have a sugar crash. You'll hate you can never share it. You'll hate our transparency. You hate me. You'll hate you can eat it every day. You will hate Nowhere Bakery.
All right, the V word, baby. Velocity. It's the amount that you're selling.
Yeah, so velocity is a word that gets thrown around a lot in the retail space. And it's not just velocity in units, it's velocity in dollars. And there are category averages that buyers look at. And if you're not performing at that average,
Above average,
then you get a phone call.
Yeah, you think actually a buyer's phone call is a good thing. It's usually a bad thing. You're being called into the principal's office and you're being checked. You're being checked for exactly the things that you can't control and sometimes for the things you can control. So if they say, hey, your velocity is down, you are 1 foot out, what are you going to do? You have to shape up and you have to figure out, okay, I'm going to spend this money on this dumpy demoing company because there's no other option. I'm going to try to put these coupons out and hopefully people will buy it and buy more. I'm going to put promos and demos out because I don't want to get out because it was so hard to get in.
And so expensive. Yeah.
And you invested so much time and then a year later you're like, bro, I'm no longer in this place.
And usually when you're out, you're out. They don't tend to, unless, you have an amazing new product or maybe a new buyer, but usually if you're out, you're out.
You're out. And the reality is a retailer, a buyer, they don't care about how great your product is. Sure, it's fun to say this is that and we do this and that and blah, blah, blah. They want to care how it moves.
You used to talk, when we were in buyer meetings, you would sit there and say, we have the most delicious product. And everyone thinks it's great. And they're like, okay, like everyone tells us that, right? And now we've learned like, okay, these are our velocity numbers or this is what we can do for you. Like there are ways that you need to massage the buyer in order to have them excited.
Yeah, because again, they're not the ones who are making the buying decisions for the customer. The customer is making the buying decision based on whatever it is that they are. So they have to make a buying decision for the store and hope that the customer is making those buys. And think about too, for us, we're in the dairy section, even though we're dairy free because we need to be refrigerated. That is the most competitive space. You're dealing with high volume items like eggs, yogurt, sometimes, great cheeses and things like this. So when you're not selling as many as those, which is hard to do when those are daily habits and those are daily wheat purchases, you're dealing with a tough amount of real estate. You have to make a real strong case for yourself. Again, I think it goes back to a lot of these things will ultimately fall on your shoulders. So if your product is out of stock, it's on you. It's incorrectly placed. It's not reordered. It's sitting at distribution. All these kind of red flags, including the velocity, are, again, could be, it's always going to be looked at, it's your fault. But there's actually things that are your fault, like the price is too high. The packaging doesn't communicate, quickly enough. The product is sometimes too large. Maybe it's in the wrong store demographic. So think about, our product as it is now could not be at Ralph's with that SRP, right?
And we've had opportunity, right? Like, so we have a broker now and they will email us and say, hey, do you want to submit to this retailer? And we will look up the retailer and make a decision on whether our customer will actually be there or will it be a really hard sell, because we know how much it takes to get on the shelf, how expensive it is to get on the shelf. You could easily be taken off the shelf. So it's like, is it worth it?
Exactly. Again, poor repeat purchases, that's probably your fault. And brand didn't get enough support at launch, which is also a big thing, but again, could be your fault, could not be your fault, but ultimately falls on your shoulders. All right, getting to the end now. So if we were to do it all over again and we're just going into retail now, what are some changes that you would make based on all the things that we know now?
I mean, we have made changes along the way. And I think, going back to your point about the packaging, I think back on the first, what I would think is real packaging that we designed, which was those pouches, the white pouches, and what we put on the front. It's actually laughable now that I look back at it because they were so basic. But at the time we were like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like we did the fake paper in the background. It was all white. And it really didn't say much beyond just, the vegans are gluten-free and all of that stuff. You learn as you go, or at least we are. But I think now we are in a place where we're trying to scale our company. We're trying to move product off the shelves. We're trying to get into the, retailers that are nationwide so that we can get into more people's mouths. And doing that with the product we have, we're realizing is not going to work. Not in the way that we hoped. So we are in a position where we're reflecting on that, our offering, the price point, the size, the packaging, the communication, the positioning, all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we used to primarily think like, how can we just make the best, very, very best cookie? And now we think like, how big is the packaging, or how much does it cost, and where does it physically fit? And is it too wide? Is it too long? Is it too high? Is it being blocked at the bottom because the tags? What's it sitting beside? How risky could the first purchase look to a consumer?
The co-packing aspect of it, how scalable is it from a manufacturing perspective? We take our product now to a co-packer and they laugh in our face because they're like, there's too many touch points. It costs you too much to make, which is why it is $7 on the shelf.
So, Missy, would you rather have an incredible product that retailers don't understand yet, or an average product with an incredible distribution?
I feel like we have the first one already. And it is a frustrating thing when you know you've got a great product, but then retailers are like, oh, well, it's double the price of everything else that it's sitting next to, so why would I bring it on? These are the things that we're coming up against. So not that I'm saying we're about to make an average product to scale, but like I feel like there should be a happy medium where we have a great product. It's retail, I say retail ready, but like it's good for retail. And then we can scale it. So neither.
I think you have to be comfortable in your own skin. I think you have to know exactly who you are. I always say Skechers sells more shoes than Prada, but I'm not fucking selling Skechers, And so you can't behave like Skechers when you're Prada.
Right.
Is getting into a major retailer still something we celebrate?
I think it will be. We haven't gotten into a major retailer in a while, and a new one anyway. We actually did get on. Okay, I lie. We did get 2 retailers that we are onboarding with our baking mix. But I was like, oh, did you get the email? We were in so and so. And you're like, oh, which one was that again? Like, I don't think there's really. Okay, I don't think there's really much celebrating happening unless it was the key ones that we have really been hanging out for. And there's probably only like 1 or 2 I think that we're really hanging out for. The other ones, like, obviously amazing, so great to be in. We want to grow this business, but from a celebratory, like, we feel really like we could exhale and have like a moment with it. There's really only 2 that we were holding out for.
I think for the most part, you're excited about being in the store that you shop at.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably the most meaningful. Well, I tell you this, like, 6 years ago, we thought getting into retail absolutely meant like we made it. Now we know that getting on the shelf and staying on the shelf is just really permission to compete.
It's just half the battle.
Yeah. The win isn't obviously getting in. It's obviously staying in and continuing to be the top. If you can be the top producer in any of your categories, you're really crushing it. I think that should be celebrated, and hopefully we'll get there with that. But just know that you have to go in 2 feet in and, spend a lot of money to make a lot of money.
Yep. That's it, bro.
Tune in next time. That's it.